All right, we are here with Norman Matthew of Murder FM. Say hello, buddy. Tell everybody what you're about, man.
What am I about? Not
Yeah.
much these days. Not much, man. I never really amounted to anything exactly as the way all my teachers said in high school.
What do they know?
No, we just came off a record cycle for our major label release, Happily Never After, which had a lot of cool things on it. We worked with platinum producer Bo Hill on the record, who's actually, my production partner now. Will Hunt from Evanescence played on the title track.
Right.
Happily Never After did drums. Tommy Lee from Motley Crue did a remix of We the Evil, and I mean we did some great touring, dude. We were opening one road with Pool, Head PE, the Revolver magazine, South for the Winter tour, Black Eyed. Can't remember if I said Head PE or not.
Right, yeah,
Head
PE.
I mean, we were rocking hard, quite honestly, for about 3 or 4 years straight, opening for Rob Zombie 2, Deftones, Five Finger Death Punch, The Pretty Reckless. I mean,
Wow.
The band was just like nonstop and really kind of building for us. By the time that we had released the record, Happily Never After, we were already kind of exhausted. You know what I mean?
Right. I was saying you had to hit it again then, right?
Yeah, and it's an interesting time for us right now because the band, we kind of, I know I did, at least we kind of tapped out in July. We'd had a lot of stuff just going on. I mean, a lot of personal things within the band that, I don't want to speak for the guys for stuff that they were going through, but for me alone, I had a divorce that I was going through that was getting pretty brutal. And
yeah, that's never fun.
Yeah, and the thing is that the reason why I kind of tapped. Thank you, man. Yeah, it was it wasn't a hard decision to make, but it was hard when you feel like you've got two entities relying on you. You've got your band, but then you've got for me, I was fighting the battle of tattooed guy in a band, versus the world. So it was like I had to really get my ducks in a row and really pay attention to the things that were happening and just devote 24/7 time to it, not only raising him, but making sure that, I was in the game when it came to keeping him in my life. And so,
oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
congratulations.
That was awesome. Thank you. And his mom and I are cool, and all that stuff is cool now. But when you're in the heat of the moment, it was just like everything's vicious. So for me, I mean, my own personal thing right there was like we had an accident off I-10 heading to a show in El Paso. We had a string of shows in the summer, and it was basically leading us, it was like on the road to Crew Fest. We were going to be headlining Crew Fest in Hollywood, and our van just, the axle, the bearing and the axle literally gave way.
Oh,
and
man.
It flipped to one side. Yeah, and U-Haul trailers, they tend to fishtail, so they go the opposite direction, and that's actually what kept us from turning over. But we had turned on our side and then flipped back. And when that kind of happened,
oh my God,
man,
that's scary.
It was scary as hell. I remember just sitting in my hotel room, the night after that show, and it was just, I mean, everything had gone wrong. A PA blew out that night. There was issues from top to bottom with the show. I mean, it was one of those things of like, not only was it Spinal Tap, but it was just like every wrong thing that could happen was happening. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, fuck, man. Like,
I mean, at that point, it becomes like a comedy of errors. What can you do but sit back and be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, and for me, I was like, dude, like, I really care about what we're doing with our career, and I really care how this band is presented and comes off, and like, every show doesn't matter to me as much as like the right ones. You got to be doing the right things at the right time, and I felt like there was multiple slaps in the face that day alone that were like, sit on the bench for a while, dude, collect your life, and really like pay attention to what's going on again if you want to be able to survive and go to that next phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually a very veteran way to look at things. I mean, that's exactly how it's worked out for just about every band that I've talked to that like had it too hard for too long. They ended up all hating each other, and then the bands that sidestep that and take their time a little bit and balance it, they're the ones that stick around forever.
yeah. And I mean, it was cool. You know, it was one of those things. And you know, our drummer Jason Shakes West and J6, they got a little side project going on. They went ahead and released that stuff to scratch that itch. And our guitar player Matt's doing like a solo acoustic record, and he's got some cool alternative photography that he does. So it was like those dudes kept running and like doing their projects, which is cool. But for me, man, I literally like had to become Axl Rose, and I just like hid in a bunker. You know what I mean?
Now, have you communicated this to your fans, or is this the first time you're coming out and telling people what's up?
This is actually the first time, man. And for me, it's huge because I was like, you know what? I want to pick the right platform to talk to people, and I want to be able to,
thank
really
you.
do it on
I feel honored that you chose me. That's kick ass.
No, dude, I love it. And when you guys reached out to us about it, when Rachel reached out, I was like, absolutely, man, because it was like, for a couple months there was like, it's really nothing to really say. It's like, dude, a band finished a cycle. We had been on like a 3-year cycle. I mean, it was like, I think Metallica did 2.5 years straight on the Black Album, and they were mega huge. Like, we did 3 years straight on not nearly as huge as that is success. So you can imagine the kind of ass whooping we took as a band, you know what I mean?
And anytime you live on the road, no matter what you're doing, whether it's sales, entertainment, whatever, anytime you live away from your family, it's a little stressful time. It's a heightened sense of stress.
Yeah. You know, it was, man. And I mean, I lived with a lot of it for a while. I felt like, you know, I had let down my band because it was just kind of like I said, I literally tapped out. I was like, I'm not saying I quit music. It's just, this is what needs to happen right now, and this is where my priorities lie. And you know, that can be a tough pill to swallow.
I mean, when you give it your all every night on stage, eventually it takes a toll. I mean, you can't. Everybody needs to get refilled. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know, and I know I did. And so another hard part too was that when at least it just kind of ended up that the band was like, you know, let's just take a break, figure out what we're going to do with ourselves. I was having a hard time writing because it was like I couldn't write anything from her FM that wasn't either filled with piss and vinegar or sounded exactly like what we had been doing. Because not to sound cheesy, but I had kind of hit that crossroads as well, because our band had been going at it for so long that it was like, dude, what are we going to do, man? Like, you know, AC/DC can kick this stuff out and do it AC/DC style, but our band isn't necessarily like that. You know, we need to evolve and we need to grow.
So yeah, AC/DC's already been done.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, man, we, you know, to stay relevant, to stay creative. And for me, man, it's always been about the music. As much as I actually love the business and the business side of it, for me, it was like, dude, this band needs to evolve. And me as an artist, I was like, I got to be creative. I got to make some changes. Like, I can't stay in all black forever and chug the same drop B riffs. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I was like, dude, like, I really want to do
some
cool.
people that's okay for, but other people, they need more. They need to progress. I really believe that all depends on the individual.
Yeah, man. So that was another thing between just life stuff and artsy stuff. It was just kind of like I gotta figure all this out again before we make that next move. And we're just kind of hanging in mid-air right now. You know, we haven't said that we've packed it up and we're going away. We haven't said that we're still in the game. We're like, boop, pause. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, when you go through a 3-year tour cycle and all that, I mean, you got to have some downtime. I mean, as human beings, you're going to need that battery recharge at the very least, you know?
Oh, yeah, man. And, you know, I think a big part of it, too, is you could just start to feel, and this is on the real, you know, tensions within the band. And that's when you know, too. I mean, when two members hang out with each other, and then another two members hang out with each other, and then you kind of feel like there's a split in the sea, and, you know, there's an argument, or not necessarily an argument, but it's like, hey, let's go to Chick-fil-A, let's go to Wendy's. Hey, Wendy's is open. Oh, the guy always gets his way.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not even like a bad thing. It's just like in a relationship when you start arguing over who left the toilet seat up, you're like, all right, there's something fundamentally wrong here, and maybe we just need to take a breather. You know what I mean? And that, for me, I didn't want to say it was over. Didn't want to say we're on hiatus. Didn't want to say we're coming back stronger than ever, because it's almost kind of like,
don't call it a comeback.
Right, I've been here for years.
Right.
It's almost kind of like whenever you define it, it goes the absolute opposite direction.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You took that one right out of my mouth right there. I was like, because everybody who's ever been real grand about I'm retiring. Like Ozzy has been retiring for 30 years now. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
You definitely don't want to do that again, and you don't want to look like Kiss, like you're in it just for the money. It's a fine line nowadays. Yeah,
and so for me personally, it was just like, you know what? It's kind of, there's a little bit of mystique, there's a little bit of intrigue. Let's just leave it where it's at, And for me, I'm always kind of in everybody's face. I'm the in-your-face kind of guy. I'm the one always bitching about everything. We got to do this. I want to do this. Blah blah blah. Let's take the band here. Let's do this. Blah, blah. Right. I kind of went the complete opposite, and that's just because my life has completely changed my mindset on where I'm at, period. And it was kind of weird how everything was happening.
Sounds a lot like John Lennon. The story of John Lennon is what it's starting to sound like. That's a great fucking problem to have right there,
Right.
Except for the end. You don't want to end the same way.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was like, man, I don't want that to happen to me. But
we'll rewrite the ending right there. So.
There you go. I like that. So, lately, I've been in the studio demoing a bunch of new stuff, working on a bunch of new things. And what I tried to do when I started writing was, you know what, I'm just going to write what naturally comes out of me, and I'm doing everything right now, like all the drums, all the bass, all the guitars, all the vocals. It's just like, it's 100% me, because I want it to feel like every note that's coming out is exactly from my heart and my soul or my balls, like one of the three places. I don't want it to come from anywhere else. But
that's starting to sound like a Steel Panther song right there.
Yeah, right.
This is coming straight from my balls.
Right, dude. That yeah, man. Funny thing about that, Tommy Lee actually hates that band.
Really?
Yeah. He's been vocal about it before, but I remember I said something about it once, and just in passing, and he was like, yeah, dude, that fucking band. And I'm like, someone else had told me, yeah, he doesn't like that band, dude, look it up. And I Googled something on the internet, and there's something about Tommy talking trash, and I was like, all right, next time in the studio, note to self, don't bring up that band.
Really? That's wow.
Yeah, well, because you know what, and what's crazy, I'm collaborating with him on a couple tunes on the record right now. I'm collaborating with CJ from Drowning Pool, just kind of trying to do some different and interesting things. But the thing about my connection with those two cats is that they feel the same way that I do, that the business part of it is great, the smoke and mirrors part of it is great, the bombast and all that is rock and roll is great, but at the core there should still be something it's just truly gritty and raw.
See, now I can relate. I've been in Nashville for over 20 years now. Now we do things a little different here now.
Right.
But it's just as dirty.
Yeah, and so for me that's how I wanted to do this record, and that's why I was like, I don't know at the moment what it's going to be. I didn't want to define it again, because it goes the completely opposite direction. I didn't want to say, hey, this is a Bigger FM record. I don't want to say, hey, this is my, I'm the beginning of my solo career now. I'm going to go ahead and do that number.
Yeah, don't define it. Yeah, don't make grand statements, because it always ends up fucking you in the end.
Yeah. So that's why I've been quiet about it. I've been kind of just hiding away, but I've been working at it, and the stuff that's coming out of it is, it's different for me, because I'm lyrically coming from a different place.
Right.
Murder FM, we love to put on a show, man. We love stuff like Manson, Rob Zombie, Kiss, Slipknot. That whole thing was kind of was at the core of Murder
that
FM.
Go with it, yes.
Yeah, so this is a little bit different, because it's wow, I'm actually really exposing myself as an artist. The music is very much a parallel of where my personal life is at, but not in the sense of like bitching and moaning about it.
It's a current snapshot of your life.
Yeah. Which was I tried to be very conscious of doing. You know, I was like, you know what, I want to write something that is just that, a complete snapshot of my life, but I don't want it to come across in this super like ridiculously gay way, or trying to not gay way, excuse me, like happy way. Where it was just like everything's so positive, everything's so great, la 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 la,
exactly.
like hokey and cheesy.
Yeah,
and campy,
I get
right?
it. I get it. I feel where you're coming from, and it's awesome. I think you have a very mature view of the music business. You seem to, like you said, you really enjoy the business end of it, and it really seems like you get it.
Yeah, well, I do, man, because you know what? I've got a school called the Sound Foundation, and we do everything from lessons to artist development. And out of that studio, I also produce and write for a lot of artists. And I've been doing a lot of that these past 6 months, when a lot of new records are going to come out in 2017 that I've been behind. But being behind the scenes of that and kind of like pulling those strings, you start to see the other side of it as well. And so that's where I was like, when I got a chance to I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this for a little bit. I'm not going to think of myself as Norman from Murder FM. Like, I'm going to just think of myself as an artist and really try to get outside of myself and look outside of myself. That's when things kind of got really interesting. Right. You know what I mean? Because we were in that cycle for so many years that it was like, oh my God, like I would even look at some of the things that I would do and I was like, I can't believe I did that, or said that, or tried that, or didn't do this, or did too much of this, you know? So it's weird. And that's why it's like, you know what? I'm enjoying the spot that I'm in at the moment, because I'm like, wow, this is really coming from a whole nother place. And it's musically, like, it's not reinventing the wheel. Not doing anything that hasn't already been done, but I'm doing something that I feel is like
living in Nashville,
really me.
Living in Nashville, dealing with a lot of studios and a lot of music production, it's refreshing for someone to actually say, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, because there's a lot of people that come here and think, oh, I want to be different. But look, 1,000 years of music theory doesn't change because you got a Mac. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right, true that.
It's like you're not going to do 10.5 beats. It's just not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Just stop it. You know what I'm saying? Just stop it, you know?
Right. You know, I mean, something that, you know, I'm really trying to stay true to at the moment is 3 chords and the truth, dude. You know, and whatever, however it's dressed up production-wise.
Sure you ain't doing a country record?
Yeah, right? No, it's just the way I feel about it is I'm like, look, man, you've got to produce it in a way that, and present it in a way that, like, is natural to whatever, you know, kind of product that you're going to do and, like, release. Right. But at the core, something needs to, like, still be true. It's like I need to be able to sit on my couch and sing these songs, and they need to have the same impact as if I was on stage in front of 5,000 people with timed lights, everything going crazy, and, like, people just flipping out on the band. You know what I mean? It has to have that same impact of just like, wow, like,
you know, some of the most impactful song or performances I've ever seen were nobodies at a speakers, like an open mic night in downtown Nashville. Some of those people are just, wow, you know.
Yeah, they're really good.
So you don't really, I mean, you can make a statement with the timed lights and all that production. You can, but you can also make just as powerful a statement with a flashlight and an acoustic guitar. So it's all in the artist. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
and so
all.
I know how to do the other side. That's why I was like, I've never really released this side of it. So I think it would be really cool to actually be able to do both of them together. You know what I mean?
Right.
I said, the Murder FM stuff, it's always kind of been a show. We grew up on Bowie. We grew up on, you know, Slipknot and Rob Zombie. Like,
you got to give the people their money's worth. You know, you got to give them what they came to see. If they came to see, you know, the flashlight and an acoustic guitar, that's what you give them. You know. Right.
It's like my mindset's kind of like, with Murder FM, we had the character, but if I can put the real into the show, so you've got something real happening on top of the show.
Right.
I'm like, man, I think that could be really, really,
metal
really
fans
cool.
are not stupid. They know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and the thing is, it doesn't have to be real all the time, because quite honestly, You know, Dio sang about wizards and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but
Yeah, right.
he made it great. You know, it doesn't.
Well, you know what the difference maker there was, that he really was into that.
Yeah,
So there's
he
that
was.
real.
Yes, that's because
You see
it
what I
was
mean?
real to him. You know,
Yeah,
so he
exactly.
came across real. So art really does imitate life, and if you're fake with it, it comes out. It will come across, and whether you like it or not, you know.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been up to lately, man, and what's going on with the band, and we've tossed a couple ideas back and forth about what we should do, and it was just kind of like, you know what? It's kind of this unspoken agreement of like, Jay and Shakes are going to go do their project, Matt's going to do his solo thing, and
Right.
I'm just kind of like I said, Chinese democracy, Axl Rose it until I figure out what the next move is. You know what I mean? Because I write the tunes.
Don't hire Buckethead. Don't hire Buckethead. I've heard stories about him and dog poop in the studio. You know, we probably just want to go ahead and bypass that one.
Yeah, right. Well, luckily for everyone out there, I don't have the budget for that anyway, so that's definitely not going to happen.
I got to ask you some Murder FM questions. You spent 3 years on the road. You were playing some wild rock and roll. You must have seen some wild shit.
You know what? we did, man, and wild because for the band, man, we were at this really cool point as we were building as a band where it was like you saw everything in the sense of, I mean, we would be on some high-profile tours where we were treated just as great as the headliners, tour bus status, backroom status, green room status, VIP. Like, we were just, you had the key to the city at one moment, and then the next minute you were kicked out of the city because we were on these, like, grunt ditch-digging tours playing for anywhere from 5 to 50 people a night and then back up again. So for us, it was like we saw everything in between because the band was building, It wasn't...
That's the
never
fun
one of those
part.
things. Oh, that's all good, brother. It's never one of those things for us of it was just high profile and great all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. I mean, we saw some wild stuff. We played, awesome A market, big city stuff, and then we're in C in what I would probably call X markets. It was just like these cities even exist, and some of those shows were even some of the coolest shows. I mean, we were on this Head PE tour that was just some of the craziest cities I had ever been to that I didn't even know existed at the absolute worst times of the year. I mean, we're driving through Montana in like the dead of winter.
Oh yeah, that's not
you
fun.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like, who puts this together? But it was great. I mean, in fact, there was a couple times where that weather came in pretty handy. I remember we were in Idaho Falls and we just annihilated.
Yeah,
I love Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls, what up?
Yeah,
and I jumped into the crowd. I got thrown back in, and I landed on my right ankle because I didn't want to hit this girl's head. So my tech that had kind of threw me over to security threw me in a way that I had to move my legs so I wouldn't hit her head or the monitor. And so I just twisted the hell out of it.
Ouch.
And it was so swollen and jacked up I couldn't move it. I remember the date. I was in Bozeman, Montana, and I literally was like outside Head PE's tour bus with like my pants rolled up on my right leg and my pant leg, and I just stuck my foot in the snow. And I was like, forget trying to get ice, dude. Like, I'm just going to sit in the snow until the swelling goes down. I'm either going to get hypothermia or this is going to get better, one of the two. It did get better.
I was in North Dakota.
Yeah.
In like the end of January, early February, where it was like -60. Like you could spit and watch it freeze in the air before it hit the ground. It's like I called my friends back here in Nashville, and they're like, "What? How cold is it?" I was like, -60, and they're like, "Oh, okay." I was like, No, I don't think you understand. You could hang out in your freaking freezer naked all day and not see -60. It's like, no, you don't get it. It's like a different planet.
It is, man. It was crazy. I actually, that particular tour, scenery-wise, was gorgeous. I mean, I was like, this is great. This is hell to drive through, and loading in and loading out, and everything else was weird about it. But to the fans in those cities, man, it was like, dude, the shows were even more electric for some odd reason. I mean, we would pull up, speaking of, like, North and South Dakota, and I'm just like, oh my God, dude. Like,
because a lot of bands don't go up there.
Yeah, and it's like, that's what everyone was telling us. I'm like, no one is going to come to the show tonight. Oh my God, like, why are we even here? Like, diva moments. You know what I mean? We're
right.
Like,
and then it's fucking jam-packed because nobody ever goes up there to entertain those people. Unless it's like a country cover band.
On stage, and it's like, dude, a whole nother world. I mean, people just freaking out, like, pressed against the stage.
Women
like,
in their 60s throwing their panties and shit.
Dude, it was nuts, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these markets, man, where you're like, oh, cool, like, we're in L.A., we're in New York. I love New York, by the way. But, you know, all these big markets, you're thinking that's the way it would be, and it's just kind of like, blah,
yeah, because it's no big deal to them because it's, you know, all the time. But you go to those little cities that no one ever goes to, they're like, oh.
Yeah, like Wyoming. I hated everything about Wyoming. But the shows were amazing. But Wyoming, I was like, I hate Wyoming. Like,
right.
If Wyoming fell off the planet today, I would be totally cool with it.
Give a shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. But when the shows were out of control, it was just like, this is amazing, dude. You know, it was really, really cool. So, I think a really weird show that I noticed was Seattle, Washington, because
I lived out there for a little while before pot was legal
up there.
Yeah, but I lived out there before pot was legal, but I don't think that mattered much.
Well, it was weird because it was like the chillest, high energy crowd I've ever seen. And, you know what I mean? You can't explain it.
Like high anxiety.
Yeah. You can't explain it to somebody.
It's like pent up rage, high anxiety. They're like raging but standing still. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, but like nervous. Yeah, it was just like
A Day on the Green. I think it was. It was like that too.
Yeah, it's just so funny, man. So yeah, we've. I mean, dude, you name it, we've seen it.
I lived out in Seattle. I got to see the band Harvey Danger.
Oh, wow.
Rehearsal room before they got signed, before they hit it. And, because I worked at Guitar Center at the time. This was like early 90s. And, early 2000s. I forget. Like right when I got out of the Army, I lived in Seattle for a little while. And that's when I got introduced to different chemicals and whatnot. So a lot of that time is kind of a little hazy. But anyway.
You're right. You're like, I remember coming out of it in 2003. So
they're like, hey, try this. It's called salvia. I'm like, okay. I don't remember anything for like the next day. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. They're like, you took that
like,
shit?
I love Mexican food.
Yeah, right. I have no idea what happened, and no one will speak of it. So it's like, okay.
You know, I mean, for me, it was really crazy. I mean, just the way that we toured, because I actually don't drink or do any drugs. So for me, it's like I remember everything, and I absorb everything.
Oh, wow.
And where that can be crazy is that, like, I mean, you really are, like, in the moment and aware of your surroundings 24/7, you know? So it's kind of like a lot of the crazy stuff that goes on. People make mistakes. People get in fights. People talk shit. Someone does cocaine off somebody's butt, like, right on top of, like, your suitcase, and you're like, I'm trying to get dressed. You know, just whatever wild thing you could think of that would be happening. It's like, I guess this is funny to you, but this is actually kind of really annoying to me.
Yeah,
like,
I noticed.
I'm aware of what's happening, you know?
Right. I got diagnosed as a diabetic at the end of 2012, so I quit drinking, so I can completely relate. So it's when you know, I've had a bottle of whiskey. I wouldn't say I completely and utterly quit, but I've had a bottle of whiskey in my cupboard for like 2 years now. You know what I'm saying? It's like so rare. But I know what you mean when you're the sober one and everyone else is like on their level of fucked up, and they think something's funny, and you're like, "Would you just shut the fuck up?" You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the other part too, where I was like, you know, going through this divorce, and I'm like, I need to get out of this scene. Like, I need to be a part of it, and I really don't want to be attached to anything that's like gonna throw anything just indifferent or could be negative my way. You know what I mean? I needed to be in control of what was happening in my life so that no one could say, oh, well, I saw this, or he took a picture with this girl, and it could be nothing but an Instagram post, and all of a sudden it was just misconstrued into something. Right. So, I mean, and that kind of, I'm sure it was like if there was a probably made me much more paranoid than I needed to be, you know, because it was just like I was overthinking everything. But there got a point where I was like, yeah, man, I was anxious, I was paranoid, like I didn't want to walk out of the tour bus and just be like, what? I'm afraid to walk outside. I just would run in, do my show, thank you very much, run out, you know. And it wasn't that I didn't want to be involved, and I didn't want.
Didn't
to,
sound like it was much fun for you at that time.
Yeah, but you don't realize it at the moment. You don't know what's going on because you're like, dude, like I love music, I love playing music, I love being in the business. I had no idea what the profound effect where my personal life was at that made me just kind of see and feel everything and differently. You know, I was hypersensitive to like everything. And, you know, I'm not afraid to talk about it now. Back then I was. Now it's kind of funny, you know. I mean, like it's ridiculous. Like,
well, stress does different things to different people.
Yeah. You know, I was like, I was sure I was going to die at one point. I mean, I remember like gasping for air in the middle of the night. Like I felt like half awake, half asleep, and I would just like, and like try to wake myself up and like crazy things. And I think I was doing crazy things like, I'm going to delete everybody that has any connection to somebody on my Facebook, and block everyone in the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah. You and I have a lot in common.
Yeah, man, I felt so out of control that I had to do anything to feel like I was in control of what was happening in front of me, while still trying to not be out of control as a person and feel like you lost control. You know what I mean? Just
right.
ridiculous, dude. I was like, man, I could write a book on like just how gnarly this stuff is. And again, because I don't drink, I don't do any drugs, I didn't have much of a social life either because of the way my marriage was and like being on the road, that it was just like I had no one to really turn to. I was going through it by myself. I didn't talk to a lot of people about it. I was just kind of cooped up in my own little world, just my little boy and I. And it was like, yeah, it was just like, dude, I felt like my head was going to explode. And you know, there was a couple turning points. You know, Tommy Lee actually being one of them. I remember he called me, you know, and just kind of like talked me through some stuff. And because he was like me, you know, I want to be super dad, dude. And you know, when I was going through these things with my own, I think it's like Pamela or something, it's like, you know, if you got even a little bit upset or you sneezed too loud, you felt like people would be like, you see, he's out of control, he's crazy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, to be scrutinized like that, like they were, wow.
Yeah. You know, so when he kind of talked me off the cliff and really, really helped me, and it was like, dude, like, that's one of the reasons why he's made such a profound effect on my life as well, is that it's not that it's Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. It was more like this dude had like been through it on an even more ridiculous level than I did, and he made it out through shining, and he took the time to help me through it, which was great as well. Just kind of, I mean, it really put a lot of things in perspective for me. And then, you know, once I came out of it, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I would have never thought when I was 10 years old listening to Girls, that dude banging the drums was going to help me get through, you know, the most ridiculous part of my personal life, you know.
That is pretty amazing, and that's an incredible story on its own. I mean, I'm sure that's one of many that you have. I mean,
yeah.
Wow, like that's kind of like on the level of you know Dave Mustaine, his godfather and everything being Alice Cooper. You know, that's almost in that same.
Oh, right.
In that same little world that's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's cool, man. So, you know, things like that, I just had to.
Now, I gotta know, does he still play the practical jokes and stuff like that? I mean,
absolutely.
Oh, dude, if you ever need practical joke ideas, when I was in the Army, and I spent a lot of time in the Army, I was the practical joke master. If you ever need any help with practical jokes, do not hesitate to give me a shout. I will help you out.
Absolutely, man.
I've done some practical jokes that 35 years later, people are still going, man, I can't believe you did that shit. So
that's crazy. How can it be 35 years later when you're only 28?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. But now, like, high school, still back in high school, people are still like, I can't believe you know.
Right. That's awesome, man. I'll definitely I'll make sure to look you up.
Definitely, we can get into like a little, I can help in the background, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't know, but if it was me, I would, you know what I mean? So, but man, it was great talking to you, dude, and I am so happy you decided to tell your fans what was going on, and you chose my show to do it on.
Absolutely, man, and yeah, so anyone that's into Murder FM, go check out Jay and Shake's solo project or side project, Down Generation. Check out Matt Zero and his solo project, and support these dudes because at the end of the day, I think one of the most beautiful things about our band is that we were always friends first and we were brothers first. So I think that deserves to be mentioned, and that's part of the success that we've had thus far was that we always put our friendships first and try to really put those egos to the side. I know I have. I mean, obviously, I'm not out there at the moment throwing myself out in the mix, so that should tell you right there. I learned my place and where to park the ego. But
what I'd like to say is I'd like to stay friends on the show, man. Call in whenever you like. We're on Friday nights from 8 to midnight, or 8 to 11 Central. And, dude, on metalheadradio.com, you're welcome to, whenever you're in Nashville, come, we'll hang out, dude. I kind of dig you. You have a very, very healthy outlook and of seeing the music business as it is, and that's a rare thing. And I live in Music City, so I'm telling you, it's a rare thing, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. I know I'm going to be releasing a project called Strange as Angels here in 2017 while we get the creative juices going for the band.
Well,
so
when it's ready to be released, you send it to me first, and we'll debut it right here on the Bearded Clam Show.
Absolutely, brother. I would love for Strange as Angels to be on there, dude. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Hell yeah. Now, before you go, I need you to get me a little bumper here saying, hey, this is Norman Matthew of Murder FM, and you're listening to the Bearded Clam Show on metalheadradio.com.
The Bearded Clam Show.
Correct.
On metalheadradio.com. You got it, brother.
Go ahead. When you're ready.
Hey, what's up? This is Norman Matthew of Murder FM and Strange as Angels, and you're listening to the Bearded Clam Show on metalheadradio.com. Wow.
Fuck yeah, one shot, one kill, dude. I bet you're wonderful to work with in a studio.
Thanks, man. Hey, it's all about getting it done, dude.
Absolutely. Hey, man, thanks again for calling in, and we'll stay close, brother.
Yeah. Let me know when it's airing, or just shoot me a text or something. That way I can pop it through all my social media and stuff.
Usually about 3 weeks. I like to promote it, and I definitely want to promote this one.
Awesome, man, dude. I really appreciate it, dude. That means a lot. Like I said, I haven't done anything in 7-8 months, so I feel like I'm coming out of hiding.
Right. Well, I appreciate.
This is DJ Nova telling you to tune in to the Bearded Clam Show Friday nights at 8 on metalheadradio.com. Come jam out with your clam out.